So the next section in Savitch edition 10, 7.3, we continue on 7.3, that's programming with arrays. I am going to another section of this, which is searching the array. So when we have an array, there is times that we need to search something in the array. So we have different ways of searching. Let me put this one up here. Okay, so there are different algorithms for searching, and the easiest one or the normal one is so the normal one is, or the easiest one is, or the one that you would think about it first, is you start from the beginning and you're going to search for what you're looking for, and then you find it or you don't find it. Let's go over this again. The size of this array is what? What is the size of this array? The size of this array is 10, and number used is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to be looking at each element into this array. Of course, we want to look at only the elements that have some value in it. So we are not going to go beyond index 4. We're just going to stay there. So let's say I'm looking for 47. So I'm going to check the first one, second one. I found it. So when I found it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to return the index. So if I found it, I'm going to return the index. What about if I am looking for something that I cannot find it in here? Let's say I'm looking for 33. I'm looking from the beginning. I keep going. And then I am done with my for loop. And I haven't found 33 yet. So in that case, I'm going to return -1. So if I'm writing a function for search, either I'm going to return the index, which is going to be 0 through 4 in this case, generally 0 to size -1, or -1 means I didn't find it. So that's my search function. So if we look at this one, so in the declaration, we put enough comment for the people to know what's going on with this function. Some of you guys are still not doing the comments correctly. I need you guys pay attention. When we are writing a declaration, you generally start with description of your function. What is this function is doing? Then we can figure out what's coming into it, what's coming out of it. If I'm in my description for this function, I have too many ands, it's going to do this and that. That means my function is not good because I have too many things in there. One function is going to do one task and one task only. So in this case, we're going to have a function that's going to do search. So in my description, I can define what's going to be the name of my function. So in this case, it's going to be a search. And it's going to do a search in an array to find this target integer. So to be able to search, it needs to know what is the size or the number of elements that we are using in this array, so it doesn't fall off on the other end. Then it's going to return either the index of what it has found the target in there, or -1 if it hasn't found it. So these comments has to be very descriptive. So P for processing, that we go with IPO, or you can change it to D for a description. That's what's going to be defining what we're doing. And then our name of the function can be based on that. So when we're calling this function, if it's giving me -1, that means it wasn't found. If it found it, then we can say something in there that it found it. Of course, we're going to use this for some other more complex algorithms. That's why our functions don't do any printing. It's going to return a value, and the calling one, in this case is main, receive some result, and based on that, the results, it can decide if this is founded or not. It was found or not. So this is the search that is doing. So the search, move this one down here. Okay, so in this search, what your author is suggesting is to bring up, so we need the index starting with 0, and it's introducing a Boolean. So it's checking it as far as it's not found, and the index is less than number used. We're going to go through this. If it found it, becomes true. If it doesn't found it, so if it doesn't have a match, it's going to go to the next index. So what we're doing is we start with index 0. The index is 0. So we're checking the target to see if it's equal to index 0. If it is, my found is going to be true. And then it comes back when my found is true, it's going to get out of this while. If it doesn't find it in the first index, the index is going to be 1. It's going to check the index 1 against target. If it's not true, it's going to keep doing it till it goes all the way to the end of this loop. At the end, it's checking to see if it was found. If it was found, it's going to return the index. If it didn't find, it's going to return -1. So this is one way of doing this. And remember, the reason that I like computer science, one of the reasons is people can have their own creativity. Everybody has their own signature of doing things. So how else can I write this function? Think about it. You can put the video on pause. Think about it a little bit. How else can we write this one? There's nothing wrong with this. It's just one way of writing it. How else would you write it? I suggest you put it on a pause, go think about it, write it, come back and move on. So as you know, I am very fond of a for loop instead of the while. So I always use the for loop before I use the while. So I am going to, through my array, through a for loop. That's my typical way of going through an array. We start with 0, we go less than number used, index plus plus. If I found my target in one of the elements, if they are the same, I'm going to return index. The return index is going to terminate my for loop and it's going to get out of the function. It's not going to go to the next element. So the search is going to just search the first, either one of these. It's going to first the very first one. If I have 2 elements, it's not going to find the second one. We will learn how to do that later. So if I go through this for loop and I finish the whole for loop and I didn't return, that means what? I didn't find it. So I can return -1. To me, this is a little more straightforward, less coding. That's my favorite way, but that's the way your book is suggesting. And you guys can decide how you want to do it. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right here. That is for the searching part. And I want you put in the pause, go over these things. Is it possible to go out of bound, outside of the range while searching an item? Can we just fall off the end of it? How do we know that the target values has not been found? What is the index number when target is not found? That means, how do I know if I get to the point that I know we didn't find it and I want to print that index number? What is that index number? And of course, what is the starting index for search?